Monster Brick Reviews.
Hey friends, this is a look at the Lumibricks Heritage Tram and Station set. It is set number L9084. It is 1,274 pieces. And you see here the box. It's a typical beautiful box from Lumibricks. And what you're seeing here is a station for a tram. It has 5 characters that it comes with, and the station has these poles with lights, like traffic lights, a fountain. It's got a bench and flowers, and it has a little bit of a store here as well, a ticket area, and signage. And there is a string that runs from pole to pole. There's 2 poles. And then you also get this tram. And notice that the tram is also on its own foundation. So this is built up, and then this is also built up. And this is built up to look like it is pavement with grooves just wide enough for the tram. So it's not just a track, but actually built up to look like a city street. And the tram itself has printed pieces along the sides and on the roof of the tram, and you can put a bunch of figures in there, and it has its own lighting inside this tram, and then the station has its own lighting. So there are 2 separate battery boxes, one that goes in the roof of the tram, and the other battery box goes in the foundation of the station, and it goes to light up things like that little guy right there. And inside the tram, there's a light here, there's a light on the inside as well. Some really clever things that they've done. And one of the things I wanted to point out that I appreciate they're doing is they went ahead and put their own brand right on the tram. So good for them. They do have a strong brand. It is up and coming for sure, and for them to be proud of it, I'm glad to see that. All right, and then there's not really much else on the back or on the sides. Yep, that's about it there. Great presentation, really nice box. Now we're going to look at the bags, we're going to look at the lighting kit, and then we're going to look at the instructions too. So starting with the bags, bag 1, bag 2, bag 3, bag 4, bag 5, there's only one bag 5 for some reason, bag 6, and then you get a couple special bags. This is S, I guess for specialty, so there's a really large plate in here. Here's that wire that runs across from point to point. You only get one of them, so on the box it shows that there's a couple more and you can string them along, but if you bought multiple sets, then you could string them along, or you just make more of your own. And then these are the printed pieces, and what they've done is they've attached it to like a helper brick, and that helper brick lines up these 2x6 tiles, and then they print right across the top of it. Excuse me. And in doing that, you have a perfect print that lines up right at that joint. And so when you press this together on the model, it will look perfect. You don't have to, it's not a sticker that you need to worry about getting it just right. And as far as a print goes, this is the best way of making sure the print looks perfect, is you print it in place the way it's supposed to be placed. So you've got 2 of them, one for each side of the top of the tram. On this is also the same concept over here. So looking at this, you can see it says historic tram number 22 in service since 1898. So this is meant to represent maybe a European or something we might find in London, that kind of thing. And so they've done the same thing. They have this 1x8 plate modified with this groove, and probably so they could hold it in whatever thing they're using to print. And then they print across it, and now they're perfectly aligned and good to go. And they didn't have to do that because it actually breaks in the right place. There's a hyphen right where these 2 tiles break. So nicely done. I'm so glad that they did that. As far as I can tell, there are no stickers in the set. So everything is printed and they've done it thoughtfully. There are 2 F bags. This is the bag for all the specialized lighting pieces. So these are all tiles and plates that have grooves built into them so that when you press them down over the wiring, it doesn't pinch or crimp those wires. And it also lets the model sit flat, because if you've ever built a model that had wires that did not have these grooves, your entire model ends up being just a millimeter off, and if you're OCD like me, it'll drive you nuts. So they have a bunch of these specialized pieces. And then here are all your characters. I've heard them called Lumipals, and you get 5 of them. This is the first time I've seen some printing on the torso for the back and the front. So for example, this guy here, front and back has printing. And with all of the Lumibrick characters, you have to fully assemble it yourself. So you have to press the arms, which have a left and right side, into the torso, and you have to push the hands, which have a left and right side, into the arms. And then you have to push each of the hips, which have a left and right side, into the, sorry, not the hips, but the legs have a left and right side that have to be pressed into the hips. And then once you've done all of that, you put it all together and you have your figure. And what is helpful, I found, on these legs is they actually do say left and right. But it doesn't matter quite as much. Just go ahead and put them in the torso. And once you've done that, look for the end that has a little bit longer of a toe. And then you know that's the front. And then that goes in the front of that torso. I have from a different set a couple of characters I've already built out. And these guys are really growing on me. At first, I thought they were a little bit weird. But you know, they have made... It's hard to beat the minifig. The minifig from Lego is a gold standard. It is really well done. Hard to get better than that. But here what they've done is they've innovated just a little bit more, right? So they've got character in here, how the shoulders get really small up at the top. But here's the innovation that you're going to get. You can turn the waist slightly. If you turn it too much, it starts to pop up a little bit, maybe comes off and it's a little bit loose. But for the most part, you get to turn the waist a little. That's something you cannot do on Lego's minifigures. And then this other set I had actually has a really nice cloth piece. And I haven't seen any sets where they molded a face on the back yet, but I'm sure that they've thought of it, and I'm sure there are some out there that do it. Okay, so that's a look at the characters from a different set. All right, what's next? We're going to look at the lighting kit, and we'll open this up. Lighting kits from Lumibricks are always premium. They're always really good, really well done. You get 2 bags in here. Let's open up that first bag. So what's inside this first bag? It looks like these are the pieces and the lighting pieces for the tram. And this tram actually has the battery inside the roof. And in order to transfer the power from the roof, because the entire roof comes off, you can pull it off. In order to transfer power, they've used some specialized bricks that have these contacts at the very bottom. And then you stick onto this piece, I think this piece, the contacts for the other side. So then what you get is conduction from the top to the bottom. So we'll take a look at that more closely when we see the instructions. And let's look at bag 2. So these are the specialized pieces. And what you've got here is a USB, so you can power it through USB if you'd like to. It's optional. And these look like the little couplers that they have, and they have self-adhesive backing. You could peel that tape off and you put it into a specific place. This is a piece I've never seen before. This looks like a 1x4 brick with a light. This probably lights up. What's unique here is they've added this white plastic over it to diffuse the light. I think that will look really nice. I haven't seen that before. I've had a bunch of 1x4 lighted plates before, but I've never seen one that came with diffusion. You get 2 battery boxes, and each of these have a switch, an on-off switch, and then the lightings just plug right into there. and it has studs so that it can be built into the model. So as I mentioned, one of these goes into the base of the tram station, and then the other one goes into underside of the roof here, and that roof lifts off. And these take 2 coin batteries. They are the CR2032, which is typically what you put in a key fob. So hopefully you might have some of those laying around and you can put them in there. And by law, they have to have screws to keep this safe, to keep kids from swallowing those batteries. And so because they have those screws, they give you a screwdriver. So they've thought of that as well. So you have the screwdriver to open up that coin box, coin battery box. And the other thing they've included is a nice set of metal tweezers. So this is matte black finish. It's metal, really nice. I'm just impressed that they do that. I recently had to buy tweezers off of eBay and they were like $4. And so here you are, you've got some free tweezers. And the reason they include these is when you go to press these little wiring ends into the battery box, they don't want you to pull from here. If you pull from the wire and you pull it out of that battery box like this, right? So if it's in there and you pull like that, you run the risk of pulling the wire out of the white connector. So why they include these is so that you can grab the white connector and pull from there. And now you won't break the wiring and the connector. So at some point, Lumibricks was like, you know what, we're getting sick of everybody complaining that their lighting's not working, and probably found that 9 times out of 10 it was because they had pulled the wiring out of the connectors. So they realized it's way cheaper just to include tweezers. So I love and appreciate that they did that. All right, so now let's look at the instruction manual. It is a matte finish, really terrific printing. You can scan to get PDF instructions, which is terrific. Not everybody does that. It's again an additional cost for them to maintain the PDFs, have a server for them, all of that kind of stuff. Really, you can see how thick it is. The other thing I almost forgot to mention is that this tram has 2 modes that it operates in. So one is a passenger tram by day, and then you can actually swap out the entire middle section so that it becomes a mini restaurant / bar. And they include all the pieces for that. So we'll take a look at that as we're going through here. Here's a little bit of information about Lumibricks and about this heritage tram. They've actually went ahead and said, here's the tram stop. And guess where they're stopping? They're stopping at all the places that they've built for this city that would fit right in with this tram set. So I love that. It says post office, book cafe, town hall, antique store, balcony theater, fire station, brick art gallery, artisan gelato studio. If you have any of those, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of those. I would love to get some of those myself. All right, and then you've got some almost look like postcards from the inside. I love that they did this. I don't think I've ever seen Lego take a picture from a minifigure's point of view on the inside of a vehicle. I think that's really fun. A little bit of a ticket here. Now the train still runs through the town just like in the old days. This says, the night Mr. Jean-Michel and Susan met. Well, look at that. So some information about what's included. Here's a full list of what you get for the LED light package. So 2 of these cylinders, another cylinder and a stud, and various other pieces. So to make sure you have everything. They also include that information in other languages. And then as you go through, there's a section where it tells you to check the lighting. So it actually asks you to press everything together. Here's a look at that brick separator. It comes with one and it's a unique design. Here's where they tell you, hey, check the lights, put batteries in, plug everything in, make sure it works. And I think that is an important reminder, because once you've built it into the model, a lot of times, because of the way that they ask you to do all the wiring routing, to backtrack and pull everything out could be a little bit of a pain. We're building the characters first, so you can see all the parts for all 5 of those. And then we start with building the station, and you'll see that they use a lot of this flesh color to create this tiled pattern. Oh, I noticed just now it has a skylight. That's really nice, and some seating. So you see it being built out. Here you see the battery box getting added to the underside, and they show you how to route the wiring. I appreciate that they do that. The pacing on the manual is very good. It's easy to figure out what's going on. And what they've done here is for every step, the new pieces are highlighted in red. That makes it a little bit easier to figure out where they go versus the old pieces. And sometimes they even have additional guidance like a top-down view so that you can see in absolute terms where things need to be placed and in what direction. I think that's really handy. I wish some other sets have done that for me in the past. That would have been great. Look at this giant bulletin board. That is a big piece. I think it might be a window piece. And here's your ticket booth. I've never seen that particular build before, but it feels very authentically European and designed. I like that a lot. Like a modern ticket booth in an old-time station. There's this is the building of the track that the tram runs on, and they've brought back these pieces with the tiny little ridges. I really like those, and you can see they're building up almost like a cobblestone pattern for it. So it is it's got cracks, it's got a little weed growing in there. I mean, it's not some lazy design. I mean, they've thought about what would be a compelling and good looking track for it to be on. So I appreciate that they did that. Here's more little greenery that's kind of grown up in the cracks. And here we're starting to build out the tram. You'll notice here the wiring, there's wiring, I think there's lights on both ends, and then it has a coupler right there. And then that wiring runs up that wall up to this top of the tram, and it has this connective piece that conducts electricity and gets the electricity from the roof. So once you place the roof on, it connects right there. And that's how the power is transferred to the bottom half. Again, really excellent wiring information. I would recommend this for even if you're a novice with wiring. Lumibricks makes it easy to get wiring in there. Some steps are just about, hey, move the wire from this side to that side. Sometimes that's the whole step because they want to make sure you get it right. They don't want anybody confused or trapping the wire in the wrong place. So that's what they're doing here. They're saying, here, this is exactly where you need to put the wiring. And then they give you the parts to make sure that that wiring never becomes damaged or that you have a problem with it. So really terrific. I love that they do that. And so, yep, continuing to build it out. The wheels all run along the bottom there. And they're using those Lego's train wheels. Looks like there's seats for at least 3 passengers on the inside with some handrails, windows that open up. All right, and then here's some of the signage. This is the part of the top of that tram that gets the electricity. Here's a look at that entire roof of the tram. You see here the battery box is already built into place. Hopefully these are lit pieces. Oh, they are. So these 1x1 yellows are lit. And so then that's how you get light on the inside. And you'll see here, you can kind of tell this is the other conductive piece. So the battery is getting power to this conductive piece. When you place it down, it transfers power to the bottom half. And then that's what lights up the bottom of that trolley or tram. And here's some of the poles and signage. This is a full print on a 2x6. I think it says Lumibricks Town. That's cool. And really nice details there, more details. And then here's that string that runs end to end. so that it looks as though it is the wiring that your tram will get power from in the universe. There is a small side build for a flower cart. It's very nice. And it goes in that corner there. And then you build out the alternate interior. So you can see it's got a full bar. It's got room for a couple people to sit. What is this in the corner? Is it a stage? Wow. So this here is an area. There's a table, a couple of mugs. You can see it has a hot dog and other things going on here that you can buy. And it has the name of this restaurant. So I guess it becomes a mobile restaurant by night. I think this is a stage. Look, there's a microphone right there. So I think that's what they've done. Oh, they even tell you how to pose the character. They're saying, take its right arm and lift it up so that the arm will be on the counter. That's great. Some additional flair for this version of it. And then they give you instructions step by step on how to do the conversion. So you take the roof off, take the old piece out, put the new section in, and there you go. You have a new version of the tram that will be a bar / restaurant by night. Here we're building out a bench and more images of how it looks. And I just now noticed that these two parts, the track and the station, they're keyed into each other using these grooved, this kind of grooved design. So that keeps them pretty much in place. I think that's really clever that they did that. And here's some more images of some of the other sets. Town Life, Old West, Steampunk World, Street Fusion, Road Trip. There's a bunch of different themes that they've got. All right, so there's a look at it. Hope that was useful, insightful, enjoyable. If you like the video, please hit the like. And if you could subscribe, that means a lot to me and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.